All right, let's talk about the Runebinder Chronicles, which both holds the distinction as one of the worst things I have ever read, and is one of my favorite reads of all time. Starting off with why I enjoy the series. We have two main characters. In book 1, we follow Ten. In book 2, we follow Aiden. Ten uses water and earth magic. Aiden uses fire magic. Ten is reserved, self-conscious, and does not think very highly of his skills. Aiden, on the other hand, wants to rule everything. He is incredibly arrogant and stubborn, verging on pig-headed, and they're both fun to read about. Ten's story is more of a romance in this post-apocalypse setting, and Aiden's is like a dark tragedy. The other thing I love about Aiden is his design, is he has the words burn them, or he has burn them tattooed on his knuckles. He's also just covered in tattoos, but he's burned them tattooed on his knuckles. I love the magic system in this world. It's incredibly well done. It essentially combines the elemental magic of the Avatar world in a lot of ways with the Buddhist idea of chakras. Now, in this book series, you have 4, technically 5, compared to the Buddhist concept of having 7. In this one, you have the earth chakra in the pelvis, water in the stomach, fire in the heart, and air in the throat. And the different magics, so earth, water, fire, air, give you control over said element, but it also gives you some additional things. So if you have earth magic, you can heal flesh and bones. If you have water magic, you can replenish someone's blood. If you have fire magic, that's like heat and energy, so sometimes you can get like gasoline to work. If you have air magic, you can fly, but one of the neat things about flying is if you generate a whirlwind to fly you around, you're unharmed by it, but if you're carrying someone, then they are going to be harmed by it. But if they have earth magic, they can heal themselves while you fly. So even though they're constantly getting cut up by the wind, they can heal themselves. This happens in book 1, that's how I can tell you it's possible. It is a really cute scene, actually. So the magic system is great. Alex's writing style is very well done. That's one of the things that is entirely subjective, but is entirely, will I finish the series or not? And because this is YA fantasy, even though it's post-apocalypse, it's very quick-paced. I have found that some YA post-apocalypse stories are very slow. Actually, everyone I've tried to read is really slow. This one isn't. This is very fast-paced, and is actually one of the only post-apocalypse stories I have ever enjoyed. Additionally, I enjoy that it is a romance. There's romances in each one. This one I would say is dominated by the romance, and it is teen appropriate. So if you are a parent or someone who just enjoys romance without, as Book Talk would call it, spice, or those explicit scenes, this is a great book for that. Less of a great series for it because it's not romance all the way through, but it is this first one is a good book for that. Let's move on to the series as a whole and some critiques. Number 1, the genre change. So they're all these post-apocalypse stories. Let me give you this overview. Post-apocalypse, so magic comes back to Earth, it's looking great, and then this dark lady takes control of everything, creates all these monsters called howls, and to make a howl, you basically drain someone's chakra. Again, I don't think they're called that in the book, but I hated reading the latter part of the series so much I refused to reread it, any part of it. But basically you drain it and they turn into one of 4 types. You have like ravenous, like zombie type things. If you drain the earth one, they need to eat, they eat flesh. If you empty their water one, they become basically a vampire drinking blood. Their fire one, they become an incubus, succubus, and need to consume like the heat of others. And if you empty their air one, they become their most powerful, and they can I don't know if they feed on like human breath or what. Again, I refuse to reread it to guarantee, but basically they suck the air out of people's lungs and kill them that way. So, good magic system, well thought out, and there are like 6 kin who are these most powerful versions of them who were turned into basically howls without losing their ability to do magic. So that's one of the things. If you become one, gain your Howl abilities, but you lose your attunement to your other chakras if you have them. So this first book follows the killing of one. The second book follows Aiden, who gets really pissed off that 10 killed one first because he wanted to be the first one to do it, so goes to kill one. And then this one is the end of the series, defeating the Dark Lady. That is really the overview of the series and what you need to know. I'll go more in depth when I talk about each book independently, but that's kind of what you need to know for the series as a whole. Now, if we want to talk about kind of what subgenre each one is, this is post-apocalypse, romance, fantasy, okay? It's great. I love it. Love story is super cute, and I recommend it. This one is dark. Just dark fantasy, dark post-apocalypse. I don't want to tell you how dark it gets, but I'm going to. There is several graphic scenes of intense torture and murder by vicious execution methods, and all of it done by basically a religious fanatic cult. And it's done to and by the main character. So, trigger warning, this has graphic torture. So if you don't want to hear that, skip to the time indicated. So some of the graphic torture includes the main character having his fingernails ripped out, his fingers cut off at the knuckles. If I'm remembering properly, it's not the base knuckle, it's 1, 2, 3. And then the one that really stuck with me is having a cheese grater taken to his flesh. All right, if you skipped ahead, welcome back. So the torture in this book really unsettled me. And if you know me, I'm not someone who's easily unsettled. I've read some very dark things. There are two pieces of media I've ever consumed that have truly unsettled me and stuck with me. I'm not one of those people who can watch a horror movie and go to bed right afterwards, but I'm kind of that way when it comes to dark themes and plots and scenes in books. I can read it and move on. All of the torture scenes and stuff in Throne of Glass, cool, it happened, next. Not discounting all of the awful things, but I can recognize these are fictional characters and the author is trying to show that this person or a group of people are dark and evil. This gets gratuitous, even for me, and is unsettling. So that's why I actually really don't recommend you read the series. I will say, best character in the series is in this book, and the next one, but is introduced in this one, and she is a trans woman, and she refuses to attune to a chakra and become a mage for personal reasons, not religious reasons, I don't think. So instead, she fights mages who can just destroy normal weapons by by pouring her own blood on her bullets. And then this one is epic fantasy. They're raising their armies against the Dark Lady. Just fine. It's fine. It's not bad. It's fine. But you see how short this book is? There were a lot of questions that needed to be answered in it. They weren't. Or they were and given really awful answers. Yeah, so that's kind of the series as a whole. Basically, my recommendation would be, if you want to read it, despite everything I've said, go right ahead. You'll probably really enjoy it. I did enjoy it. Just to give some quick book star ratings. And I'm going to give a quality one first, what I think the writing quality is, versus enjoyment of how much I enjoyed the book. Starting off with Runebinder, quality rating, 4 stars. Writing is really well done. The world building is really well thought out, from what I remember. And my enjoyment, 4 stars. Deeply enjoyed the book. It is a great story. It's 4.5. I'm kind of in the middle there. Not quite 5, but maybe a little bit above 4. So yeah, let's give it 4.5 for enjoyment. Quality-wise, Runebreaker, also a 4. It is well written. My enjoyment is a 2. I did not enjoy this book. This book bothered me on a deep level. So enjoyment, probably a 2, maybe 1.5. But quality, it's definitely a 4. The characters are consistent. They're well written. Same thing in the first one here. Actually, the whole series. Characters are consistent, and there's actually a negative character arc. So instead of them getting better, they get worse for the main character here, which I do really enjoy and is refreshing and is well written. And then Runemaker, quality-wise, I think I gotta give it a 2 or a 3. I'll give it a 3. Just because there's a sacrifice at the end of the book that just really isn't earned. In my opinion, we don't really know the character, so he's kind of oh no, you killed Jane Doe, who's barely played a plot at all. Like, okay, and the most we feel the impact of this is through one of the other characters, but we, the audience, don't really know the character that dies. So it's kind of like, I care that he died because this other character is now sad, but I don't really care that he died because I didn't care about the character. But other than that, it's okay. Some of the answers posed to some of the big plot questions in the series were kind of answered at a meh degree. A little quick writing. Again, this book, large font, large, like it's YA size font. And it is less pages than the first book. Yeah, 363. So I do think this book really could have benefited from an extra 100 or 200 pages, at least to build up to the character who dies. So I'll give it a 3. I'm going to give it a 4 for enjoyment. I read it in 8 or 9 hours in one sitting. Like, I started reading at noon and I didn't finish until like 9 at night. And I took minimal breaks. Like, I think I stopped to pee once. I did not eat either. So, like, I was invested. All right, let's talk about Runebinder. So this is the first book of the series, and I really recommend it. Main character, 10, struggles with like self-doubt and confidence and recognizing that he is powerful and worthy. I really like his character arc. It's very well done. The romance in this book is also incredibly well done and is just well written, and it's not the very like lustful romance you see a lot. It is a very character love-filled romance, which I really enjoy. It doesn't focus too much on the post-apocalypse setting, which I also enjoy because I don't like that genre. Like, it is very much there. Like, they are in the ruins of Detroit for a chunk of this book. Like, it is there. What it isn't is how difficult it is to eke out a living because society has crumbled and they're all alone and there's nothing they can do and blah, 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 blah. I find post-apocalypse stories really boring, in part because of that. It's well done. As I touched on, the magic system is well done. The final climactic scene at the end of the book, phenomenally well written, and 10 has to make a really important choice. Do a thing that could enable the destruction of the human race and save his lover, or take the save humanity route and let his lover die. He obviously chooses to save him, and the book does have a good ending, but it's really cute. I enjoy it. It's really well done. We get some more insights into the magic system beyond just like the elemental bits of it. Yeah. So again, quality-wise, definitely 4 stars, and writing-wise, that 4 stars, and just enjoyment-wise. Like, this is a fun read. Like, if you're looking for just like a weekend read, I recommend this, and stop at the end of this book. Finish this book and be happy, and that's what I recommend. Also, the cover is badass. Don't read this book. It's awful. So, as I mentioned, writing quality is actually good. The characters are well written. The plot is consistent. Don't read it. It is dark. Like, I know I've harped on this for probably 5 minutes at this point, at different parts of the video. This book is dark. It is dark, dark, dark. And that is my biggest gripe with it. I enjoy the book for the first half quite a bit. But then we get into like the dark torture, brutality of this religious cult, and him having to choose which of his 3 friends / his lover gets to live or die, and who has to be burned at the stake. It just, oh my God. And he has so much trauma. Like, his mother is dead. So I will say, 10 is very uncorruptible. He is very kind of like resolute in his morals. He has self-confidence issues, but he is very resolute in what he believes, and he is a good person. Aiden is a bad person, which makes for an interesting character to read about. But he's very easily corruptible because he wants his mom back from the dead. But it's also sad. And just, he suffers so much. And just, oh my God. So anyway, Again, writing quality, 4 stars. My enjoyment, 1.5. I hated this book. Hated it. This book filled me with anxiety. But if torture does not bother you, you will enjoy this a lot more. Like, if you are somehow someone who is less shakeable than I am, you will love this book if you enjoy the first one. Pretty much anything I could talk about in this book would be a spoiler. So I will say the plot, good. It will have you page turning. Alex is tremendous at keeping that tension up and making you be like, oh my god, I need to finish the next bit. And for that, I commend him. Again, this is why, as a writing style and as an author, tremendous. As a genre, and I'm going to say this is not a genre I usually read, and that is probably why I did not love the second 2 books in this series. But in terms of it being queer fiction, it's great. I know this is kind of more about the series in general than the 3rd book. It's good. It follows through on the themes of the others and the general big plot points, but some things just kind of feel like they were kind of done. So there's just that to consider, but it is in general a pretty good read. I enjoyed it much more than Runebreaker, but less than Runebinder. I would recommend this one. Honestly, I just don't recommend reading the second one. Like, find a synopsis online and read the 1st and 3rd one. Yeah, and I finished this one because I was like, oh my god, what is going to happen next? Again, quality-wise, I don't think the writing and plot is as strong as the first 2. I just think some of the follow-through wasn't as good. Like, Alex set up a lot of good things, but just his follow-through on it wasn't great. His batting stance was great, and he just kind of didn't have a great hit for this 3rd one. Again, it's hard because I don't want to give a spoiler review. I also refuse to read it to get clarifying details because, again, did not have a fun time reading the series. Again, if you like this genre, you'll have a much more fun time than I did. Yeah, I give it a 3 stars in quality and a 4 stars in enjoyment. 3.5 to 4 stars, but I'll give it 4 stars to be nice. Go out, read it. It's good. It's queer fiction, which we are desperately in need of more of, especially queer fiction that isn't overly sexualized. And that's what this book delivers on, or this book series delivers on. All the main characters are queer. All of them are fully fledged characters who have their own thoughts and motivations that are relatively separate from their queerness, their queer identities. And there is a wide range. I think one of them is bisexual. One of them, obviously, I talked about the transgender one. One of them is gay. And I think there are a few pansexuals. Honestly, doesn't really matter. All of the main couples are same-sex couples. So it is just queer, young adult fiction that isn't sexualized, and I think we desperately need more. But let me know what you think in the comments below.